Hey, everybody, it's Becky Gerose. Thank you for tuning into the Gorilla HR podcast. Some of you may know that I have a huge sweet tooth. I love cookies and cakes and peanut butter and chocolate and pretty much any combination of sugar and flour and butter and all that goodness. So if you add even chocolate to that, then I'm really sold. Anyway, we have a local bakery. It's called Bee's Cakes, and Brenna Kolumba is the owner and I'll call her creative genius behind all of the wonderful sweet things that they make. And so I have been into her shop several times, and I started chatting with her at one point a couple weeks ago. And so I thought it might be fun to talk to her and hear more about her story and what it's like running a business with cakes. And I know if it were me, all I would want to do is eat the cakes all day. So I'm excited. Instead of me talking about it, let's welcome Brenna. Hi, Brenna.
Hello, how are you?
I am so good. I'm so glad that you took a few minutes to chat with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, as I said, I absolutely love your cakes and cookies and all the delicious things that you make. So, tell us a little bit about Bees Cakes. Like, how did you decide that you were going to do that?
The story goes way back, to be honest with you. As a kid growing up, my mom's parents, my grandparents, lived about 5 hours away, but they always made it a purpose to show up for every birthday party, every special event, and they would always bring whatever cake I requested. Somehow they would make it happen, and I was always just in
Aw.
awe of the birthday cakes as a kid. I would sit there and just stare at them, analyze them, and then I got to be about, I would say, 8 or 9 years old, where I really just wanted to start making my own birthday cakes. My mom took me to the local craft store. I got the limited supplies that they had back then and just started teaching myself,
Wow.
which turned into her driving me after work and putting me in adult cake decorating classes while she sat in the
Wow.
car and waited. And I was only about 12 years old, and snowballed into culinary arts in a vocational school, and then just learning more tricks, tips, techniques on the job throughout the years. And I tried different career paths, and every time I tried to go a different way, I always got hit with a bomb or a blocker, and it never worked
Mhm.
out. And I always ended up back with cakes. So I finally caved
Wow.
in and said, I'm going to do this full force. And now
I
here.
think you are the one person I know who, as a child, was like, here's what I'm into. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to make my job. And you're actually
Yeah,
doing
I am actually doing it. I
it.
do wish it was a more lucrative career. You definitely have
Mhm.
to love to do it.
Yes,
But yes, I knew from very early on. I always said I want to own my own cake shop, my own bakery, and
I love that.
it's been something I've always known.
Yeah. I think I had a similar interest as a child because my mom likes to tell me this story of when I was pretty little. So let's say I was maybe 6 years old. And apparently I took a bowl and a whisk and some eggs and flour into my room because I was going to make a cake. And so she likes to tell that story and says that like that combination of eggs and flour and whatever else I took into my room never came out of the carpet. And so I think I have a little bit of envy because I think I was trying to do the same thing.
That's cute. Yeah.
But I didn't get put into adult cake classes or anything like that. So I think mine was a little bit more like, what are you doing
Yeah.
versus, all right, how do I
Yeah.
nurture this?
I was very lucky to have a mother who just saw the talent and saw what I loved and very much nurtured it and supported me for
Yeah.
many years. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love even just you talking about your grandparents showing up. I feel like cake is love, like showing
yes.
cooking for people in general. I think food
Yes.
and like that's such a I guess known as such a sweet way to show people compassion.
Yeah, and I think at the time they were just, wanting to help out my mom and bring the birthday cake, and they didn't really have any idea the impact that they were having on me at the time. And then after actually they passed, we were digging through old photos, and I found a photo of them on their wedding day cutting their wedding cake. So I actually have that photo up in my shop right now too to kind of honor them.
Oh, that
Yeah,
is so cool. I love that.
yeah.
So, how did you go from like cooking and like learning cake decorating at a little local class to culinary school? You said you had a couple other jumps in there along the way.
Yeah, so academics was never my strong suit unless it came down to money or making money.
Mhm.
Even as a kid, I would be melting down my old broken crayons to make candles and selling them to neighbors. So I always have the entrepreneurial spirit as well. But yeah, academics I always struggled with. And
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to grow up in a place that had not your traditional high school. It was a vocational trade school. And you
Mhm.
would basically do 1 week of regular academic classes and then 1 week of your trade. So by the time you were graduated, you had a skill and you could start into the workforce right away.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up going there. My parents put me into there. And that's where I did culinary arts for 4 years. And I learned all aspects of it. I did cooking and baking. You even learn a lot about the front of the house, waitressing. They had a full blown restaurant that you would work at during school hours as well. But then I just heavily leaned into the creative side. I used to love to draw, paint, and so to me, it wasn't just about the flavor, it was about the
Mhm.
looks as well. And so I kind of leaned into the more decorative side of it.
Yeah, I think that's so fun because yeah, I mean, I really think a lot of the work that you do is edible sculptures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things to make actually is cake look like realistic food items.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. So you've probably watched all the like, is it cake? And
Oh, yeah. I would love to be on that show. Yes.
yeah, I'm always so impressed. Like some of them, I'm like, no, I can't believe it when they go to cut something that
I
looks like
know.
a real object and then it's actually food. It's
A couple
crazy.
of times they've stumped me. They have some good cake artists on there. I'm up close, like staring at the TV, and I was like, "That's it." And they've gotten me a couple times. I was like, "Wow." So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So you've obviously got the knowledge and the creative skills to do that piece of it. And I know as a business owner myself, there are a lot of challenges that go along with owning a business. So along the way, what are some of the things that have been the biggest challenges for you in owning a business and running a business?
there's so many. I never thought when the time came for me to own my business that I would also almost have to become a social media influencer in a way.
Yeah.
We are very much in this instant gratification culture with Amazon at the click of a button and
Yeah.
having insights into all these different avenues of different businesses, other bakeries. And so people really are connected on their phones. And if
Mhm.
you are not on there and not being relevant, you'll just fall to the wayside. And it's
Yeah.
something I'm still adjusting to is, the social media aspect has been, I think, my number one challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because my business obviously very different in professional services versus a product. But I have talked to some folks because I say like I have failed in the sense that I don't have really a developed marketing strategy. And one of the first things people always talk about is like, well, what are you doing on social media? And I'm like, well, I'm not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
I'm
yeah.
there with you, but you're definitely ahead of me.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's been it's been a struggle every day. It's like, I see other bakeries and they're a lot smaller and they just have like one video that just happened to go viral and they get the following and it
Yeah,
seems to be a lot about luck and it's tough when you try and look for help with that with
yeah,
some social media marketing companies, but the fees that they charge, unfortunately, is sometimes unrealistic for small businesses like mine,
sure,
still trying to grow and
sure.
survive with a lot of other issues going on right now.
Yeah.
So,
So you're like, I want to do some of these little videos and things, but I just need them to take off without like
yeah,
paying to have the extra clicks or whatever make things go viral. I don't know how things go viral.
I don't know either. Algorithms, time of day, I'm
I
not sure.
know. I know
Hashtags.
there's magic out there that could tell
Yeah,
you all that, but yeah,
yeah. I
that part's
grew up,
beyond me.
you know, barely in the cell phone. I hit the beeper and flip phone phase. So yeah, I had MySpace. I'm not used to all this TikTok and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, you have a couple employees because you certainly could not do all of this on your own. And
No.
for a lot of organizations that I work with in small businesses, getting the right people to help them with their product is one of the hardest things. So, how have you found people and how do you coach them and train them and depart your wisdom into them?
Honestly, I feel like I've been pretty lucky. I've just had great staff just kind of fall into my laps when I'm hiring.
Yeah.
And I really just look at based off of character. I feel like anything I do can be taught if someone's willing to learn.
Hmm.
Of course, sometimes I'm not the greatest at explaining things. That's also been a very much a learning curve for me to try and get the knowledge out of my head to the
Yeah.
team members. But I've been lucky with that aspect. I've had some great people come in, really want to learn, help, and do the role. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice for a lot of businesses because I constantly hear that, they have a hard time finding people with the right skills. And so I think you're hiring for fit and somebody who has the drive and the desire and, some of those transferable skills. And then you can teach and coach some of those that are more role based to the specific things that you're doing. So I think that that's
Absolutely.
a good message for
Absolutely.
anybody who's looking to hire people.
I've had very qualified people come in looking for a job, maybe overly qualified, very
Yeah.
skilled, but they're kind of stuck in their ways, don't want to do it,
Yeah.
and they can't really be taught because they just don't want to learn because they
Yeah.
believe they know it all. So for me, I would rather take somebody that just wants to learn,
Yeah.
has the personality and just kind of fits in the drive, and that
Yeah.
goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you think about people who are thinking about starting businesses and other entrepreneurs, what advice do you have for them?
Would it be terrible to say think twice at this point?
No, because that's an important thing to do.
Really think twice about it. The amount of challenges I think that have come up since starting the business that I couldn't even fathom or
Hmm.
expect. I kind of started out of a private studio growing my clientele before COVID, and no
Yeah.
one expected a mass pandemic. And even when it was hitting, and even I figured out ways to survive, I didn't anticipate the way the world completely shift. We never went
Hmm.
back to what it was like
Sure.
pre-COVID.
Yeah.
People's mentalities have shifted. Work ethics are different. People want different things.
Yeah.
They're willing to spend their money on different things. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of variables that I think no one can prepare you for, and no one really tells you about when starting a business.
Yeah.
And unless you're really willing to fight day in and day out, you won't make it. That would be my advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I think you're right. A lot of commitment
yeah.
because you're going to have a lot of challenges.
Yeah, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of long days. I think the first 2 years of having my brick and mortar, I was working 12 to 15-hour days consistently,
Wow.
and it was burnout is a real thing. Yeah,
Sure. Sure.
yeah.
What are you doing to try to help combat some of that?
Um,
Because I need these cakes and cookies. You can't go
right.
away.
Honestly, right now, I hate to say it, but with my industry, I just feel like I'm in survival mode a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, when things get tough with a lot of the food costs on the rise, it's
Yes.
been tough for us to keep up with even our pricing.
Sure.
Food costs are changing week to week, and it's like trying to adjust your whole menu's pricing week to week.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just kind of I feel like I'm in the hold on and just let's just ride the wave as long as we can.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to get creative, get new flavors, new ideas to entice people to come in. But I do believe, we're one of the first things that people are choosing to cut and not spend money on, whether it be for health reasons currently
Yeah.
or just when they go to the grocery store and their bill is twice as much as it used to, well, they're not going to drive then another 5 minutes out of their way to buy some fresh baked goods when they could just grab something a
Yeah.
fraction of the cost, pre-made or frozen where they're at.
Yeah.
So
So you are definitely feeling a lot of the economic impact already.
oh, yes. We've been feeling it. I would say the last 6 to 8 months hit
Yeah.
us really hard. We were on a good trend, and then it just took a turn.
Yeah.
And then if it's not one thing, one time it was the price of butter, and then
Right.
that finally leveled off almost back to normal, still not what it was.
Sure.
And then it's, of course, eggs.
Yes.
And
Eggs, it blows my
yeah,
mind. And you must use a
something,
ton of them.
yeah, something people don't think about is our packaging, our boxes, our cake boards,
Yeah.
stickers. So a lot of our packaging will come from overseas.
Yeah.
And so now we're combating that.
Yeah.
So that's a struggle.
Yeah. So you're going to need to get some chickens and collect your own eggs.
Right? Right?
Yeah. So we're going to need to like start chopping down trees and making paper.
Yep. Do it all. Make my own boxes. Yeah. Grow my
Yeah. So we're going to go
chickens.
like true Laura Ingalls Wilder here.
Right?
Wow. Yeah, so definitely the economic piece. And then I hadn't really thought, although it's obvious that, from the health aspect too, because I see people are cutting back on some of those things. Not
Yes.
me. You don't have to worry about me. I love all of it.
Oh, me
I'm
neither. Like,
committed.
I'm balanced. I'll eat salads 2 or 3 meals a day so I can shove the sweets in my mouth. That's where
Yeah.
I say, balance comes in. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think people are just very, the artificial dyes has become a big
Yeah.
topic of discussion. And, everyone wants me to offer them, but
Yeah.
it's going from paying $7 a bottle for one color to $90 a bottle for one color.
Wow.
And I don't think people realize like how much that would drastically increase the cost of their cake, even though they say they're willing to pay it.
Right.
So
It's
yeah,
what will the market bear when your costs go up? And yeah, at some point.
right. I can only increase so much before I'm pricing myself out of the market. So
Right.
hopefully, some things come down the pipeline where more companies are creating more natural dyes and
Yeah.
um, there's just more things offered to us. But right now, it's just not. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Do you find that a lot of your business is people who just walk in and want some of your pre-made things, or do you find that you do more in custom orders?
right now, custom orders
Hmm.
seems to be the larger amount. Just because I think that's kind of how I started. That's what I'm known for. And
Yeah.
we're one of the few shops in the Charlotte area that are still doing custom sculpted cakes or
Yeah.
using fondant, stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people that do it kind of on the side out of their house, but as far as one of the few brick and mortar locations left that are truly doing custom cakes, I know a lot of people that used to even stopped.
Wow.
So,
I
yeah,
know. Well, I have seen pictures and I've seen some of your cakes, and I know that they are truly amazing. So, absolutely, if somebody needs a custom cake, I would absolutely
yeah,
send them these.
yeah. So yeah, I would love to have more foot traffic. I would love for that to be the basis of
Yeah.
my business. That's kind of how I designed my storefront to
Hmm.
be like a quick grab and go for those treats, but it's been tougher than expected to get people through the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we got on, I actually did a little research because I was kind of curious, like, why did we start having birthday cakes and wedding cakes and all of these things? Do you know that history?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm going to teach you
Okay.
something then. So I started with looking up wedding cakes, and I found out that wedding cakes were part of the ceremony as far back as like the ancient Greeks and the Romans. And what they would do is the groom would break the cake, but the cake was really more like bread. So I think the definition of what cake was has changed over time.
Okay.
So more like a kind of bread. And of course, back at that time, it was symbolizing like her submissiveness and purity and all that kind of crap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I like that we've shifted, but that's where it started. It was like this breaking of this bread and this cake over the bride to symbolize all of these things and represent good luck and, of course, fertility and all the things that they would want in their marriage. And so, like I said, it was more like bread with like wheats and barleys, but over time that has shifted. And then we've gotten into the sweets and the tiers and the elaborate decorative things, which I'm like, okay, I'm definitely more on board with today's kind of wedding cake and tradition. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit nicer.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have one of your sweet, delicious treats than somebody breaking
Yeah.
something over my head
Here's,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a loaf of bread. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I also looked up the origin of birthday candles because I'm like, well, why do we put the candles in the cake? And so what I found out there is that back in ancient Greece, so I guess we have them to thank for the wedding cake and then the birthday cake.
Okay.
Anyway, the Greeks made moon-shaped cakes because they were honoring Artemis, the goddess of the moon and the hunt. And so they made these moon shaped cakes and then they put candles in them to make them glow like the moon. and then they
Oh,
would blow out the candles. And apparently, in a lot of ancient traditions, when you released smoke, that was a way to like send your prayers and your wants up to whatever gods you were worshiping. And so the smoke after you blew out the candles is what like delivered the whole basically make a wish concept.
ah, makes sense. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a fun fact. I did not know that.
I know. So I'm like, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
But I can be on board with making wishes and blowing out candles and all that good stuff.
Now I'm gonna use that for a party trick. I'll be like, fun fact.
There you go. Yes. What do you find are like the most popular flavors and things? And do those kinds of trends change?
Yes, they do. They do change. The staples seem to never go away. It's funny. I have a cupcake called Flower Power, where we are just putting pretty flowers on top of either vanilla or chocolate cake, and I put it out there just as a one-off, like just in case,
For the purists, the cake
yeah, for the
purists.
purists. And it remains one of our top sellers to this day. There's just a lot of people that just want the traditional
Yeah,
buttercream and a good cake.
yeah.
Um, I would say one of the flavors I created that's been very popular is a creme brulee cupcake. Creme
Ooh,
brulee is one of my favorite desserts, and I was like,
yeah,
I brainstormed, how can I turn this into a cupcake?
yeah.
And so I actually figured it out, and I dipped the whole cupcake in the sugar and torched the top, and
Wow.
that's also become one of our best sellers, kind of like what we're known for.
Yeah, I could see that being a challenge to create and also being desirable because creme brulee, I feel like, is like such a delicate thing. So to marry that with a cupcake is
Yes,
impressive.
yes, I love turning different desserts into different cupcake forms. I mean, we carry cannoli cupcakes, tiramisu. I do a pineapple upside down cupcake that's
Mm.
amazing. So, yeah, right now I know there's a viral TikTok trend of Dubai chocolate, and we're going to be
Yes.
rolling out a Dubai chocolate cupcake. And so
I
our
don't even know what the whole Dubai chocolate thing is.
Oh, it's I tell you, I think the Charlotte region is a little bit behind on the trend. It's been going for a while. It started off with these chocolate bars that's filled with like a pistachio cream,
Ooh,
and it's called, I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly, but katatifi, which is
okay.
like phyllo dough that's shredded up, mixed in,
Oh,
and then you put that inside of milk chocolate. And it really kind of took off where everyone was going nuts over these chocolate bars. um, were, I mean, just all over. Now they're turning them into strawberry cups and like cupcakes, and different desserts started having the Dubai chocolate flavor. And so I was like, well, I'm getting on board with this, and we're going to be rolling
yeah.
out our Dubai chocolate cupcake.
That really sounds pretty good, actually. I do like pistachio.
Yeah.
I
So,
could get on board with that. Now, one of the other things I know, everywhere I go, I see like or a potluck or a party, and there's always the gluten-free folks or the folks who are vegan or like different dietary restrictions and
yeah.
preferences for all these different things, whether it's health or whatever the reason is. So how do you accommodate some of that?
Well, again, it's just a matter of trying to at least have something. So I know we talked about right before the podcast, we do have a vegan chocolate chunk cookie now. Um, And then I brought in a small selection of gluten free cupcakes. I also have some gluten free protein balls, which are, even if you're on the healthier side, just made with chocolate whey protein powder, gluten free oats, almond butter, honey. So something a little bit more healthier and natural for those that might be bringing their kids in for a treat, but they're still trying to stay on their
Right.
dietary restrictions.
Yeah.
Um, we're very limited to it, but I feel like we do have a selection that you can come in and pick from.
Yeah, I think that's really nice just because, again, I see things where I've been in other, I guess, other bakeries and things that I see all these beautiful things. And then if you're looking for something that's a little bit different or has that exception, that like the same offering isn't there. And I know I've been in your shop and seen that like the same level of quality and creativity is still there.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I try. I know people are now looking for some sugar free and more dairy free, which is very difficult to do. I'd
Yeah.
say gluten free is easier to do, but maybe one day we'll have some options. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I always try and have something for everybody. If you
Yeah, I
don't
like
like
that.
cupcakes, I got cookies. If you don't like cookies or cupcakes, I now just start rolling out brownies. So, yeah,
Oh,
we try and have something.
I love that. I love all of these different options.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to see for your business? Like in the next year, what would like just make life amazing for you?
Honestly, I would love to just see it grow and thrive. I feel like
Mhm.
we've been in survival mode for a good bit now, and I'm running, bare minimum staff and,
Yeah,
you know, trying to work double time in here and then behind the scenes to still try and grow the business and try different things. So, honestly, for me, I would just love to have more of the community and more people be aware that we're here.
yeah,
Um, and think of us, the small business is not just mine but any small business out there. Like, if you can drive the extra 5 minutes to even make the smallest purchase at a small business, it would mean the world. I feel like we're getting taken over by the larger chains and
yeah,
corporations, and it's tough, but we're
sure.
getting weeded out. I would love to be able to have more of a clientele and more of a following where we're busier throughout the days and I can get more staff on board and
Yeah.
grow my team.
Yeah. Well, I hope that those things happen, not only because I love your products and I love you, but because I also really think that we should be supporting local businesses and small business owners where we can. And I think that there is an appetite for that. I think as we're seeing some different things in kind of the political climate, and we're seeing where people are willing to spend their dollars in different ways. And maybe that's something that can benefit you and Bees Cakes to really have people come and say, I'm going to spend locally and support my own community.
Right. Yeah, that would be fantastic. After starting this journey myself, I make it a point to try and shop local wherever I can for that same reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, I definitely support you and wish you all of the best. And I tell everybody to come check you out because, again, I think your products are so delicious and awesome.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, word of mouth is the best thing for us. So
Yeah.
I feel like once people try us, they're hooked. So if we can
Yes.
just keep spreading the word little by little.
And now that I know
Yeah.
you have a vegan product, I have some local vegan friends. And so next time I need to take treats, I'm going to speak my language of love through food and come pick up some vegan treats as well.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much for spending some time. I know you've got a lot of things going on back there and some hustle and bustle and some orders to get to. But
Yes.
again, thank you for taking your time and check out Beast Cakes.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for tuning into Gorilla HR, the podcast. I hope that you are now hungry for something sweet and delicious. And I hope you go to Bees as long as you're local. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Gorilla HR podcast. We hope you found some unconventional wisdom and actionable advice to help you in your own HR journey. Remember, we're all working together to build better workplaces. Want to join in the conversation? Send us your questions, stories, and maybe even your own guerrilla tactics to podcast@gorilla-hr.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your network. Until next time.